But I would just like to, first of all, welcome a really special guest, Andrea Gilman. Now, Andrea is the global SME lead of Mastercard, all the way from the United States. I know I was speaking to Andrea yesterday. She resides about half an hour north of New York City, and that's where Andrea is talking to us from today. I think it's a bit cooler there where you are, Andrea, than it is here. So, and I think it's a lot earlier there than it is here. So, this time of the day, thank you for joining us, Andrea. And I'm not going to spend too much time talking. I'd just like to, first of all, welcome you on behalf of the NSBC and SME South Africa. We're very grateful to have you on board. And but Andrea, thank you for joining us.
Wonderful, and thank you so much for having me. It is just amazing to be here and to be able to talk to you all today, the power of technology, and it's just really great to be able to share some of our insights and learning that we've had at Mastercard with all of you over there.
Andrea, thank you for that. And before we get into, as our guests know and our attendees, we normally interview great people like yourselves in a Q&A session. I've got some great questions here this afternoon for you. But if there's anything you'd like to give us an insight into before we get into the session, please, over to you.
All right, wonderful. Well, again, thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to speak with you today. So yeah, I did want to share some opening thoughts and remarks from my perspective in terms of what we think about small and mid-sized businesses and how we see it, and the opportunity that is before all of us to support our local economies and help all businesses survive and thrive through these challenging times. The first thing that I do want to say is that you are critically important, not just to your local economies, but to all of us across the globe. Small businesses truly are the lifeblood of all economies. They power employee base. They power the whole infrastructure of economies across the globe. And we also see a very personal commitment to small businesses and all the local communities. We really know they kind of really create this this lifeblood and this neighborhood feel, and that is absolutely really important. And so at Mastercard, we are very focused, and it's our mission to make sure that small businesses across the globe are healthy and able to survive and thrive through this pandemic and beyond. And just, one of the ways that we think about what is healthy is, are small businesses equipped to build resilience and have that cash flow so that they can get through this, but also pursue new opportunities. And I think, Mike, that's really what we wanted to talk about today. And so what we see a lot of times is that small businesses are struggling in a few key ways. One is around getting cash flow in the door. So we find that it's really important to help small businesses think about how they can get paid quickly and easily and in a digital way. We can talk about that. We also find it's important that they also think about how they can get access to capital. So that is kind of two of the key ways that we think about that. And then a big, big trend that we've seen and that we also should be talking about today, I think, is how we think about helping small businesses get more digital. Because we do know that those who do have a better chance of not only getting through this, attracting new customers, retaining their customers, but also ultimately growing their revenues. So that is all very, very important. And wrapped up in all of that, Mike, and why we're so happy to be talking with everybody today is that it's important to share, to coach, to mentor, to help each other, and to get access to learning and training. So that is all really, really, really critically important. So I would say, a couple opening thoughts in terms of what folks can do if they'd like to take action and think about this. A few key things around making sure that you have a plan. And I know, Mike, this is something that's very near and dear to your heart as well. Making sure that you understand how to get paid, and then also making sure you're thinking about how you pay in a smart way. So also how cash goes out. So maybe just a few moments on each of those things, if that's okay, Mike. First, I think it really is important for each of you to think about what is your financial forecast and what is your plan. We've seen that only 27% of small businesses in response to the pandemic have taken a look at their plan again, and that is something that we really think is a must-do. So really we do recommend that you take a look at your financial forecast and your plan and ask yourselves some really critical questions around, do you have enough liquidity on hand? Are there expenses that you don't need to be paying for anymore? Are there things that you could renegotiate? We've seen a lot of folks renegotiate things, big expenses like from their suppliers or their rent or what have you. Are there government programs that you can take advantage of? And then do you have enough liquidity coming in? What's your forms of capital? So these are all really important questions. And I know there's all kinds of businesses online here with us today, but those are some really good things to be asking yourselves. And then, as you go through that, just remember that having cash in is really important, and having that on your books. The second thing to think about is, how are you getting paid? And I think when you think about this, there's two kind of key ways you might want to think about this. First and foremost, do you need to make a pivot in your business? We have seen many businesses make somewhat of a pivot in response to these times, whether it be getting more online. So we've seen a lot of local retailers start to market online, start to show their goods through video and social media, which can be very interactive and fun. We've seen local exercise gyms and things like that offer their classes in a digital format. We've also seen restaurants kind of change their format of what they're offering. So maybe it's a meal kit or things like that, rather than your typical kind of, you have to come in and dine. Also, of course, a lot of outdoor eating has also been very popular in cities and across the globe. So that is one thing to think about. The other thing to think about in terms of how money comes in and how you're getting paid is, have you gone to digital format? So we have seen a massive shift in behavior, both across consumers in terms of how they're paying their businesses, as well as in the B2B space. People really are embracing this digital format because it's a way to do commerce in a way that's socially distanced, which of course is really, really critical in today's day and age. And so, for instance, at Mastercard, in 3 months, we've seen online spend increase 60%, really dramatic. In the US, e-commerce spend doubled year over year. And this is a very mature e-commerce market. So that just gives you a sense of the dramatic shift into digital. And so, small businesses can get digital too, and that is really, really important to think about. And then the last element I think to think about too is how cash is leaving your books, right? So making sure that you're paying in a way that is smart. So we talked a little bit about thinking about, how you pay your suppliers or your big expenses. It's also a little bit about thinking about the form that you pay on as well. So things like using a credit card allows you to keep the cash in your business a little bit longer. So those are kind of some opening thoughts, Mike, that I wanted to share with you as a way to maybe guide the conversation that we're going to have today. I think there's definitely a way to help each other through this. And it really does require thinking through your plan, making sure that you've got your steps. It doesn't have to all be done in a day, and really figuring out what's right for you and your business.
Great, Andrea, thank you for that. It's a great start, and let's take it to the next level if we can. And Andrea, what are some ways that small business owners can use their credit more effectively?
Right. So one of the things that we see, so first and foremost, when we think about credit and getting access to loans and capital and all that kind of thing, a lot of small businesses actually struggle to get a loan, right? And I don't know, again, the situation that each person here has, but that is something that many of them apply for, and some get and some do not. The second most popular form of getting access to credit is a credit card. And many small businesses do that. One of the things that we see in many markets, however, is that they often use their credit or the debit card to take money out of the ATM and then use cash to pay. It's probably, if you have a credit card, it might be just as easy to use that card to pay for your expenses, and then that lets you keep that money with you for a longer period of time. So simple, again, that's what I'm saying, like some little steps can actually make a big impact on your business and making you feel more comfortable with how you're operating.
You know, Andrea, you're right. You know, it's something that you may not be aware of in South Africa is that, you know, we've done a lot of research around this during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the tragedy is that only 6% of small businesses that applied for relief funding got that. So 94% were still in a position with no cash. And, you know, we do know that on the outside there is your credit card can be used effectively and quickly. So it was very difficult for many SMEs, because we do know that in South Africa and probably globally, that almost 90% of small businesses run from month to month. So, and of course, the tedious process in getting funding is just too long. You know, if an SME is fund, and we talk about quality businesses that have been around a long time, you know, so it's just too cumbersome. It takes too long. There's too much red tape traditionally. So that fast method of accessing funds for immediate cash flow is imperative. So thank you for that. Just referring to a few more questions I have on my right here. Andrea, how can going digital help a small business rebuild and future-proof their business?
Yeah, we think this is a really important topic. We do think that the shift to digital is here to stay. Right, and we know that many folks actually started because of the pandemic, but it was a trend that was happening before, right? It really was, and it just simply accelerated it. And so getting digital has allowed businesses to first and foremost stay open and be able to pivot. And by the way, when we talk about getting digital, it's not just about digital payments, right? I want to be clear. It's around all the things that you can do to get more digital. So for us, of course, accepting payments in a digital fashion, we think is really critical. It's about being able to have a digital storefront. It's about being able to market yourselves in a digital way and let people know that you're open for business. So one of the capabilities that we developed, which I think is very exciting, and it's coming to your country soon, is this ability to even just let people know that you're open. That's really important, that you're open for business. So we have a tool called Shop Openings that lets people know that. So it's also about being able to protect yourself from cyber threats. So another kind of consideration that small businesses need to make as they become more digital and as they put more online is how do they protect themselves from cyber threat? And that's another kind of set of capabilities that Mastercard can help with. So really, it's this whole array of how do you market yourselves, how do you attract customers, how do you get paid? Those are the big considerations in terms of getting digital. And so what we see is, and there's been a lot of studies around this, and many that we've done as well, is that companies that are able to make the transition to digital not only have a better chance of surviving and keeping their doors open, but they're actually increasing their revenues. And we've seen stats in different countries and different markets. Some increase their revenues 5%, some 10%, some 20%, some even more, even 40%. So a really dramatic impact on the business, and an important way to think about, again, attracting customers, getting them in. And we have a number of resources in South Africa where we can help small businesses get access to these tools and capabilities by partnering with your local banks.
You're, Andrea, 100% right, and you elaborate on that. And if one, when the pandemic arrived so quickly without notice, we all had to transform full circle in all aspects of our business in this new digital world. You know, many people will say that it was coming eventually, but I think what's happened is it's just sped up the process probably tenfold. And, you know, it's been about adapting. It has been about trying new things. It has been about challenging the status quo. And, you know, if you look at the digital world now and adopting that into your business, it becomes a lot more cost effective, and you can achieve a lot more in a shorter period of time in many aspects of your business. So I think we've all learned, you know, I was telling you offline earlier that we at the NSBC, you know, prior to the pandemic, we never had done a webinar, we never had done a virtual event, we had never done the way things are done now. And not only us, but I think many, and I think that's the resilience and the positivity of the SME sector. In the most, they have adapted. Now, Andrea, I've got another question here for you. What other programs are available to help small businesses, but specifically in South Africa?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, too, just to stick on this theme of helping small businesses get digital, there's a couple that come to mind that I want to call out for you. One that's just been recently announced between Standard Bank and Google and Mastercard, which is a new program that helps small businesses get more digital. It helps them open up and accept digital payments. And it also helps them market through Google AdWords, as well as open up a digital storefront. We think this is a really powerful combination. And we'd also, you know, really recommend that the businesses on the line here check that out if that's of interest. Another kind of key thing that we've been working on is making digital point of sale more accessible and cost effective. So basically this concept of being able to turn a phone into a point of sale acceptance device, we think is very exciting. We call it Tap on Phone. And we partner there with a Ned Bank to get that out to market. So that's another kind of opportunity and capability that small businesses might want to take a look at and invest in. There's also a number of solutions out there to allow payments through QR codes that we can also talk about too. So a lot of different opportunities. And again, I think it's really for the small business to figure out what's right for them and to investigate what they need both now and longer term, so they make the right investment in their business. But, you know, we are again seeing like that, you know, these kinds of opportunities really help and do pay off in the long run and short term as well.
Thank you for that. Andrea, we have a question here from, just in the meantime, Claudia from Claudia Cambridge. She's asking, how do we access the support that Andrea's mentioned from Mastercard?
Yeah, I think the best thing is to contact your local bank. So, you know, we at Mastercard, we are a network. And so I think one of the things that people always need to understand is that we power your local banks, right? So we don't usually go, today have the great opportunity to talk directly to you, but we work very closely with all the banks in the market. So I think it's important to contact the banks I just mentioned or your local bank and see what they have available to you. And that's the best way to go forward. But also, of course, if there is further questions, we can set you up with somebody locally from Mastercard to make sure you find the right bank for you.
Yes, and just to the attendees out there, if you've got any questions and you'd like us to connect you with the support, please drop us an email at info@nsbc.africa, and we will direct you, of course, to the banks to assist you in a speedier process. So please, if you'd like to get that access that Andrea has mentioned, just contact the NSBC and we will assist you. Just another question, Andrea, I've got here. A focus on innovation and the digitization of SMEs will be vital to economic recovery across the ecosystem. How are you partnering with governments, startups, fintechs, and women entrepreneurs to bring this to life?
So this is a big question, and this is an important question. This is absolutely key to how at Mastercard we are looking to help SMEs across the globe, because again, there's so many of you and so much need and so much opportunity. And we really do believe that collaboration and partnership, both private partnership and private-public partnership, is key to success. So perhaps first a word about governments, and then secondly a word about fintechs and how we think about that there. So local governments across the globe are very focused on helping SMEs. And they really often are struggling to say, how do we get the resources focused here, right? Because governments are also very strapped in terms of what they can do. So we do partner quite a bit with governments in terms of helping. Mastercard has, for instance, a philanthropic arm, and we've been looking to partner with governments to help with different kind of safety measures as businesses reopen. So it really varies market to market, but it is a good partnership that we have in many markets across the globe. I think that, and I think also philosophically, we're very, very aligned in terms of having this collaboration to make sure these things come to market. And so when we talk to governments about kind of this idea that we are really working to help small businesses get more digital, we're looking to help small businesses get access to capital in, whether it be through digital payments or new ways of accessing capital, there's a very good alignment across both, again, the private and public sectors to support small businesses. With respect to fintechs, these have also been playing an increasing role in the financial ecosystem and health. And so, for instance, at Mastercard, we have a whole program that we call StarPath, where we are bringing in fintechs who develop new capabilities specifically targeted for small businesses. And we look to make sure and access the ones that have the most value to deliver to SMEs in various markets. And then what we do is we partner with banks to bring those capabilities to life, again, in the local situation and circumstance. But there is a lot of innovation that is needed. And so a lot of it is coming from, technology companies like Mastercard, as well as from fintechs, and we're bringing that in partnership with our customer banks in local markets to make sure that SMEs have access to them.
Great, thank you for that. It's critical for SMEs to adopt new and efficient payment technologies needed to survive and thrive, of course, and to compete with larger corporates. What are some products or technologies that are paving the way for the future of SMEs?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've touched on these a little bit, but of course, first and foremost, I think we've talked about this. It's accepting digital payments is so key. And so some of the things that are very, very innovative, right? First and foremost, these ideas of being able to accept contactless payments, which is really critical. Being able to accept payments in a way that's like socially distanced is just critical for many. The idea of also being able to create cost-effective point-of-sale devices through a mobile phone and things like that is really important. So the ability to accept digital payments is first and foremost. I think the other thing that's also really critical is this idea of how do you kind of show your goods and services online. So we have an offering there that we are bringing to market, which is in partnership with banks, which allows businesses to set up an online storefront and show what they have. And then also being able to market online. So we have partnerships with Google, as we just mentioned, and Facebook, and being able to reach customers in a way, not just online, but also in social channels. These are also really, really important tools that can be leveraged. And then being able to take all that the information and data and understand how you are doing compared to your competition in local market. That's also an important assessment that people can make to really get a lay of the land and understand how they might want to, or new customer segments and things like that. So there's a lot of development that's happening in the digital space that's also accessing new insights and information that's also available.
Great, Andrea, and I have to ask you this question. What's your best piece of advice that you have for SMEs to weather the storm?
Yeah, Look, I think it really gets back to what we talked about at the top of our start here. I think it's really having this idea of having a plan and knowing your own unique situation and what it is you need to do, and asking yourself some of these hard questions. You know, have that dialogue with yourself. Like, what can I do? What do I need to do to get money in? And what do I need to do to make sure I'm not putting money out as quickly as maybe I was before, or are there things that I can kind of reassess? And as you go through that, thinking through some of the things we've been talking around about how do I get payments in a way that makes sense today? Do I need to pivot, change my business? And how do I slow the outflow of cash from my books? I think those are really important things for people to think through and consider, and then to make a plan to do it, right? I think we can't make all these changes on a single day. And maybe I always find when I have something daunting to do, to really kind of chunk it up really helps. I love to have a North Star. I love to say, what do I want to be? And maybe the businesses on the line here might think about their North Star being, how do they pivot now to become more digital? And then they also think about kind of what they're going to do on day 1 and day 5 and day 10, and really take it like that. I think that's a really important way to think about it.
Andrea, thank you for that. You know, we in South Africa, the NSBC has a big initiative for many years now, the Prompt Payment Code. It's all about encouraging big business and government to pay small businesses on time, on agreed payment terms. You know, it's a huge problem in the country. I'm sure there's a problem everywhere. But we're on a massive mission now. You know, the biggest, I'm sure you'll agree with me, the biggest focus of small business in Africa during the last 5 months was cash flow. You know, fewer customers, cash flow was tight. But what we don't enjoy, where big business and government don't pay their SME suppliers on time. So we're on a massive drive now. We are promoting those big brands who are paying quickly. We need them to pay quickly. We cannot allow any organization to sit on an invoice on a job well done. You know, so it's a very important initiative for the SMEs. You know, what people don't understand is that when a small business goes out of business, a family goes out of business, children don't go to school, people don't have food on their table. So, and you know, that advice from you, of course, just to add to the flavor of speeding up payments and driving cash flow is, you know, is the foundation and the essence of every business who want to prosper, not just during a pandemic, but post-pandemic. So a major focus for us is really to change the way people are getting paid, and our focus is SMEs getting paid on time. Now, I want to just say to you, I'm very grateful for your insights. You know, I don't know if you've got any other closing message that you would like to put forward before I just say thank you.
Yeah, no, I think by the way, what you just hit on is very much a passion point of myself too. I know small suppliers don't get paid quickly, as well as professional services and accountants and plumbers and all that. It's we've heard and we've talked to small businesses, and we know that not only is this a huge pain point, because it can take up to 60 days, we've seen globally, to get paid. And good for you for having some action from your government. I think this is another way that we can partner together. But it wastes time. And many of these businesses have also told us it's degrading to chase payments that when you've already delivered the goods and services. So we know it's a huge pain point. And I will tell you, we are working hard at making sure that we be able to systematize that and offer new solutions for these hardworking companies. So we have capabilities that we're working on that both from a B2B perspective, if you're a supplier, we can leverage AI, and this is with one of the capabilities that we're developing in partnership with one of our fintech partners called Previse, where we're looking to leverage AI to help advance those payments more quickly. And we're also looking at ways that we can help speed the payments and make it more digital again for those professional services and accountants. So we know this is a huge pain point and a big opportunity to help everybody. So yeah, I think that again, it really gets to, Mike, this idea of how do you get paid quickly and easily, which we know is just so critical in this time. And we think there's just a lot of opportunity for these businesses to be working with their local banks to help understand what are the solutions and capabilities that are available to them today. And also, of course, would be happy to follow up more in market there with some of the local folks.
Andrea Gilman, the Global SME Lead for Mastercard. We're really grateful for having you on board. We hope that this is not the last time. We want to see you back soon and give us some further insights. You know, we are very close to Mastercard in South Africa, so and of course, South Africa made this happen for us. So we thank you for your time.
Come on.